What is the last book you read fiction? And then what's the last book you read that's nonfiction?
Okay, so the that's a good question. Hmm. I think, and I'm looking. I don't have my glasses on purpose. Uh, I think the last couple of books I've read were one was makes me want to holler, but I think they both may fall in the same category of nonfiction. Makes me want to holler by Nathan McCall. It's a
Okay.
book I read in my adolescence, which really was about him and his life, going through the different changes and different experiences. And then I'm big on making sure that one of the things I learned as a young person, I know what it's like not to have, but I never want to not have. Right.
Right.
So a friend of mine wrote a book, 90 Days to Unlocking Your Financial Freedom. All right. So through this process, I had to say, okay, I'm on disability right now. I'm getting it. I'm blessed to not worry about where my paycheck's going to come from, like a lot of people during the COVID uh, phase or whatever.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure that I line myself up to make sure bills are paid. That I'm take that again. That everybody that counts on me is taken care of. So I read this book about unlocking my financial freedom to make sure that I manage debt, I manage cash, I'm in a good financial position to make sure people are provided for. But I think Nathan's book was probably a combination. It's supposed to be nonfiction, but I think he wrote it in a way that probably lends itself to some fiction. One of my friends would call it the oral tradition. There's a lot of oral tradition.
Right. Good
Mixed.
wise tales. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah. When
when
writing
you
your
revisit Nathan's book, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. Continue, please.
I think when reading Nathan's book and looking at some things that have gone on in the last 4 or 5 years, it's sort of like, wow, that book I read when I was in college, which is some time ago, and a lot of the things that you know, it's still relevant. It would still be a book that if somebody read today, I think they would enjoy, and they would probably align it with some things that go on in the world. Really,
Well, those are the best books, right? It's timeless. It's not about a set period of moments like that does no longer exist. So I
absolutely.
could see that. When you wrote your first book, did it energize you or did it exhaust you? Because I think now that I've written 7 books, I'm getting to the point of where after I release the next batch of my books, I'm going to have to take a year or two break just for my own mental health. And I think that's why I'm getting into the podcast space of maybe writing blogs to like build out a website. Like this is, I'm still trying to do things, read more than I ever have. I've read 3 books this week. So
You said
how
this
do
week.
you, yeah. So how do you feel about writing at this point? Is it still energizing for you or is it exhausting because of now
Well,
you're diving into
yeah.
deeper characters?
Well, I guess it's a bit both. Based on the topics, I find it energizing, right? So if I was writing something that I wasn't really interested in, it might be exhausting. Because I remember during periods of writing this book, I had to sit it down. I'm like, I'm tired. And I had to sit it down. I thought I was going to write it a lot faster than I did. But there were periods where I just had to sit it down and just let it be for a while and then come back to it. So I might sit, not write anything for 2 or 3 weeks and then get through a period where I'm just writing and writing and writing. So I think I went through phases of being energized and then other times being exhausted of the process and frustrated of the process. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of the outcome. And on the next book, I mean, I've jumped into it. I mean, there's some days when other things in life don't allow me to sit down and write, but
Right.
I'm really enjoying when I do. So I think I'm really energized right now.
Yeah.
But
It's like
right
when
now,
you
I
catch
think,
lightning in a bottle, it's
yeah.
good to go, like
How
and
much
get it
did,
out.
but you said you did 7 books. Well, how much space was between each? Were there a
Well,
year
I only
between?
started.
Were they like back to back to back?
Um, some of them might have been back to back to back. I started my writing in 2013, but I didn't release my first book until 2014. So within 6 years, I've written 7 books. But I've written more. It's just about finding the time space of when I'm able to release it, get it edited, and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
for 2021, I'm going to release 7 books, and that's why I'm going to take a 2-year hiatus.
Now, are you self-publishing?
Yeah, I think that's the way to go until you build up your brand, and then you have a back catalog that you can negotiate with, along with whatever new books you might have available to you. So that's I'm taking the marathon approach of building out my catalog, and then from there, seeing if I can sit down with a publisher that is willing to buy my back catalog along with the book I'm trying to sell them in the current future. So
I used a publisher, and because I think I knew so little that I didn't. I was going to self-publish, but my publisher, she did things like she had editors on deck, artists to do the cover. Um, she really walked through the layout and design things that I don't have that skill set, and
right.
then helped it get released with Amazon and Barnes and Noble and such. Things that if I had completely self-published, that would have it would have driven me nuts because I just don't know how to do those things. So I
Right.
guess it's not like a big corporate publishing company, but more so somebody to help me get through the process.
No, and I've tried that too. After I published my first book,
Yeah.
I thought maybe teaming up with someone would be helpful, but then when you realize how much you get back in royalties and this, that, and there compared to what you do by yourself, it's like I was better off just doing it by myself until I build up a true brand of where I can stand on my own and where I'm not paying someone to help service what I can do for myself, you know? But like I
Yeah.
understand for the first time why you would do that. But anytime you have any questions, you know you can now come to me and I'll definitely help you out.
Outstanding. That would be helpful because I'm like I said, I want to release 2 in 2021, and
Right.
then we're going to keep going from there. Over the next 3 years, I'm just going to keep writing.